I wonder if there's a day that we could do it like an evening that might be better for those two, that we could just all get together on like an off day, like like maybe a Wednesday is better for them or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just a special one just to get them. And then there's this chick named Andrea Alexandra. It was something else.
I just heard. Yeah, she just friended me the other day, and I noticed her post that she blew that one transformer up. Like,
I was like, well, okay, that's exactly what I thought too. I was like, it's really cool that we're all playing with these things, but we need somebody to talk to Neil.
Yeah, someone needs to get a little safety briefing before everybody starts going off on tangents.
I don't want to be responsible for inspiring anybody to blow themselves off.
Exactly.
Welcome to the October 16th edition of The Electric View. I'm Neil Thompson. Today we have Heather, Buddy, Robert, and David Brown discussing David's experiments into mimicking electrical interactions in noble gases. Please take a moment to like and subscribe.
It shows on our screens, well, at least on my screen, that you're recording. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I am recording, and
it says Robert is recording.
Yep. And
in case someone tries to record without us knowing.
Right, and it looks like we got David on. So.
Hey guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey,
back on. I'm gonna try to get Jacob now.
Good.
And we'll try to get this loaded here.
Cool.
How you doing, Dave?
Hey, man, I am awesome. Today is actually the day my son is a decade old. So
happy birthday.
Yeah, Ezra
Happy birthday,
Brown.
Nice.
Yeah, man. So I have very limited time today. I just wanted to show you guys a few things from my last experiment, but I'll have to hop off and make my visit a short one today.
Right. That's why I wanted to try to get you both on today and at least chat before you have to go.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I've never got to actually speak with Jacob before.
Right. He's excited to talk to you, I know that, but he's just wrapping up his dinner right now, so it's any minute now he'll be getting on. If not, I could probably try to get him to jump on.
All right on.
But I know he's eager to get on here, and he knows you got to go, so he's going to do what he can.
Fantastic.
Right. I try. It was a bit of a headache trying to get you two together at the time when we all had an opportunity, because it's like lining up a space available with, potentially 9 people talking together. That's difficult. So I'm glad.
That's always a test. Absolutely.
But Neil, I guess, had to work today, and I guess he's wrapping up and he's tired or something, so I guess he's probably asleep now. David had a business meeting, so that's why we missed the earlier show today, but we had a short conversation with just 4 of us. And so I put it out there because it was kind of like late notice for everybody that David had asked me to take over for the show while he was doing his meeting. Right. And I was still trying to get you two guys lined up. While I was in class, so I was wait to get out of school to even do anything.
Hey man, no problem. Yeah, I'm just happy to jump on again.
Right, it's good to have you on.
Oh, thanks for having me back.
Yeah. So I was trying to just show here because I guess I got the screen here for a second. Unless anybody wants to show, I was just showing one of your recent posts on the EU geology.
Oh, you were talking about not one of mine.
Yes, it is. Do you see the screen? Or can you guys see the screen?
No.
Oh.
I can't see it either. You got to share it, I think.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought since it was my call, I just automatically had it.
Hey, man. Actually, if it's cool, I mean, unless there's something that you wanted to show. Hey. Well, that's the short version.
Yeah.
There was
if you want to take over, go ahead and share. I just didn't want to have a blue field background if we're recording video here.
Yeah,
this is my first attempt at recording this, so I'm not sure if I'm doing it right.
Yeah, let me see here.
You're going to need a lot of memory if you're doing the video. But if it's just audio, you'll be able to tell by the size, I guess.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet. Are you sharing?
Yep. Well?
It just went dark, though. Okay. Yeah, I think we are now.
Now you can see it?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Right on. Well, hopefully Jacob gets to join here in a moment.
Let's try to add him one time.
What I wanted to show you guys is something from my last video. A couple things I noticed, and I thought would be cool for discussion. So here's the the first attempt at this ball. So, this ball right here is a fresh clay ball, and it's just modeling clay. One thing I noticed instantly right away, you see in this area, there's water kind of condensing on the surface that's being sucked from the ball. But here in a moment, just look at this area on the cube. It seems like this water is being sucked from the ball, and then eventually it transfers over. And then there's another peculiar thing I'll show you later. So you can start to see these water droplets condensing on the side of the ball. Obviously, as this is kind of being excavated out.
Yeah, it's like pushing all the water outwards, yeah.
See, all that water has now disappeared from the surface of this ball, and it's transferred over here. So, again, I don't know if it's evaporated and it just happened to condense on the side of this cube, or if it actually got cooled. To me, it seems like it got cooled and transferred through the discharge.
Right. I think something similar to this was shown on the symbols of the alien sky, I guess, when Paul Thornhill did the strike plates they showed. And you can see the water that was inside the plate itself starting to spread out as a moat when they hit the charge. I think that's the similar effect. They mentioned that. I can't remember what they had called it or how that actually functions. I'm not Neil.
Yeah. Well, and from this perspective, I don't see any evaporation really coming off, but it's still building up quite dramatically over here. So that's the one thing that I've been playing with is the difference in dry versus wet. How dense is the wetness throughout the ball? Where I really get these cool effects, that crater that you showed earlier. So you can just see how long this is taking. Obviously, it made the initial crater, but it's not doing much except from just pulling that moisture out.
Right.
Let's go a little bit further in. I did this process for a while.
Now you said this is just modeling clay, like
It's just
terracotta modeling clay.
It's just It's just a modeling clay I picked up from the hobby store. So something you'd make pottery out of, or clay models.
Okay.
Whatever.
Like it's like dry out or to be fired. Like the reason I'm asking is because it has a certain amount of oil in it in order to keep it elastic.
Got it.
Figure out how much of this moisture is oil moisture and how much of it's water moisture.
I think it's mostly water because this is a self-drying air drying clay. It's not a clay that requires a kiln to harden it. And once it hardens, in about 24 hours, it hardens into a hard ball. It's almost like a rock. And then if I smash it, it just smashes into a bunch of pieces. So let's see here. This is one of my first experiments. That was running for about 20 minutes, and this is the shapes that I got. So then once this ball was dry, I went back and I painted the outer layer with water after playing around with it for a little bit. Let's see here. You can see the explosions. This is the part I believe you guys saw online. It pops out a middle crater, and then a larger one just gets vaporized.
Right, like there. Yeah.
But you notice this piece kind of gets attracted here. So this is I just put the craters all in this guy. But there was one portion, yes, this part right here. I just decided to put the electromagnet just right beside it, and it exploded the side out. So it's, again, I am trying to look at this from the perspective of, right now I'm in Texas and it's been raining straight for 3 days, and there's some pretty dramatic floods. Where I live in North Texas, I could stick my fist underneath my driveway. That's how much the red clay dried up this summer. And that was after a really bad winter where it was very wet, and my foundation's just been going up and down. Even right down the street, they just tore down a house. The center apex of the roof split open 10 inches apart, and they had to replace the whole section of road, and it's right there on the hill. So
there's some ground swell.
Making the ground swell and making it dry up and crack. So I look at features like desert, where it's all dry most of the time, but then they had these storms come through where it's flooding and dropping all this water. So if there's the right electrical environment, how could that affect, things like seeing what I did just in this little, garage laboratory makes me think of when I visited Meteor Crater as a kid. And I was always taught that this happened millions of years ago, and a meteor came in and struck the planet, and that was one of the ideas of how the dinosaurs got killed. But obviously, in my research, they've never found anything below the surface. They've never found anything that's to say it's volcanic.
Right. They never found the radial arm from anything fracturing outwards.
And if you go and look at the area, there are other smaller craters around it that are very EDM in nature. From electrical discharge is what it looks like to me. I can't say that it is it, but I think that's where my mind has kind of been. Obviously, here's the other part I wanted to show you. This is a neodymium cube magnet wrapped in, attached as an electrode, but there's a section here where the clay dust kind of magnetizes, and here it is. So you can see this section down here, it actually starts attracting the clay, and it's made the clay magnetic. And I'm not sure that, perhaps there is some sort of metals in this. That was what I thought was peculiar.
Red clay is really high in iron, so there probably is a fair amount of metallic substance happening within that clay.
Yeah, so then it's just
well, that's good. It makes it more comparable to what would happen in an earth body, because it has high amounts of iron, copper, sulfur. It's not just one monotonous material.
Well, right, as opposed to a straight silica ball, right?
Right.
Terracotta clay, as opposed to a porcelain, which would be more of just a really, really, really fine silica, more conductive because of its compound.
There's an experiment I watched. I made a post on it about the goodness. It made it look like mesas. It's actually up in the Utah area. Goodness. I'm trying to think of the location. Forgive me. And anyway, it was a Billy Overton experiment, and he laid that plate, I believe it was a brass plate or copper plate, over some material, just loose material, and it made everything pull up to that plate. And when the plate was removed, it looked exactly what you would see in the desert scenes there in Utah. To find what that post is. Forgive me. Anyhow, one of my next ideas, I've got some iron oxide dust, so I was going to mix that into one of these clay balls and have more of a metallic presence in there to see how it responds. Does it still do that popping crater motion with water, or would it be more of a natural effect in comparison?
Have you tried it with two, since you're using a cube, have you tried it with two or more, balls on each corner?
You're talking about two cubes, discharging into a ball?
No, one cube discharging into two or three balls, 4 balls, one on each, at each corner of it, maybe to see how multiple bodies interacting with that charge, if it's conducting through them, or if they're sharing a charge in some way.
Yeah, I have not tried that. Just trying to think of how do I get the electrodes in. How do I get it to function that way?
I guess I was just visualizing it, how you're using the corner of the cube. If you just had the cube dangling there with a ball, another ball, and another stack on the 2 balls, and then put the cube in between them corners. See if they exchange charge through that way.
Absolutely. Oh, goodness. I'm not meaning for my work stuff to come up.
I'm going to have to say, it sure looks like an asteroid to me, the surface of it.
Alright, I'm having a fail over here, guys.
Oh, no.
Alright.
What is it, the background noise, or?
No, I've just got some work email stuff popping up.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry. Nobody cares about that stuff. We get it all the time.
Well, my work might care.
Oh.
So anyway, I know everybody's seen kind of what my little crater experiment was. I just wanted to address the kind of the water transfer. So, I guess what I've been stuck on is how our atmosphere works, and listening to a lot of the different theories from various folks in the EU on how our weather is affected by the Sun-Earth circuit and the cosmic circuit. So, we're considering all of the classic models of how the planet has its gravity and what the natural water cycle looks like in our atmosphere. I find it very hard to believe that it's all just based off of nothing but gravity, and how they describe our Earth is creating, the electromagnetism around the planet. It's all based off of an iron core spinning around in nothingness in space around the sun, right? And
that's all theory still.
Right, it's still all theory. So if someone can give me a clear answer that is logical and sensible, that makes sense, that's what I've been looking for. And things just haven't seemed right to me.
You can't really knock them because given their limited understanding years ago, before they even started understanding electromagnetism and plasma, that's all they had to go with. So they tried to make it fit and to the best of their understanding. So we really can't knock them too much, because the more you know, then you start asking more questions, you make more discoveries, and then you progress, I guess is what they call it. So without them doing that, we wouldn't be where we're at right now, starting to question why doesn't gravity answer all the questions? And then here we are starting to understand as to why. So I think we shouldn't really poo-poo them so much as I guess Edwin would say, but and Neil. But we still got to be grateful for their accomplishments to getting us where we are today, because now we can actually go forward. And we just got to get everybody on board to realize that their conventional model isn't answering the question much as they'd like to. Just make it fit with journalism.
If I had, what I'd really like to try to do is I was very thankful Jacob put that video together of how his rig is put together, how he makes his bottles with a valve using the JB Weld. And what I'm trying to figure out is how do I get the noble gases into the bottle. So I have no experience with those vacuums like he's using. It's probably a lot easier than I'm making it out to be, but I need to figure out how can I make an enclosure that can have something inside. Have noble gases in there with the vacuum that I can move around my electrode, to these balls. Or what I'd like to create is some sort of, I don't know if the correct term is planetarium, but something with floating balls in various positions that I can then use to see how they discharge against each other.
Right.
Trying to do something.
I just have an idea.
Yeah.
I was just thinking as I was watching this thing, just be excavated away. What if you actually set it up on a small rotor and just spun it, and then just kept one spot where the electrode would be, and then just have it affect wherever the rotational spot was. And then how would that affect the clay ball? I was just interested, thinking about that.
And Dave, can you mute your YouTube while you're showing it?
Yeah, sure.
That way it's not you talking over you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. That was a good idea that you just said there. I've got some bearings, some ball bearings. Maybe I can use a ball bearing or one of my old rollerblade wheels and have it spin around on that.
Yeah. Because if you were to actually rotate it and then start getting those peanut shaped asteroids and something like 67P. That would be just phenomenal. That'd be almost like a breakthrough right there, just to slowly erode, because everything spins in space as rotation. Mm-hmm. So if you start, putting it under a current as it's spinning, that would be so cool if you could just pull something off like that just by, happenstance.
Yeah. Well, I think that's some ideas. I can try to get creative and,
try to do something.
how to build it. So,
right. Hook it up
You
to
know,
a Dremel tool. I mean, a Black & Decker drill.
yeah.
Spin it and just keep the trigger down.
Hey, that's, I also I'm trying to think of ways where I don't shock myself, where I can still be grounded and the electricity is passing through normally. That's the difficulty of imagining it. But if there's,
Right. Safety first.
Yeah, maybe I could use
that.
some sort of, rubber band or a belt, some sort of belt drive system where it's just rubber that's turning a wheel. I'll figure a few things out. Get a lazy Susan or something.
Right on there. There you go.
Be creative with
in the center. Yeah.
Yeah, with what I got. So, those were the two items that I've recently been playing around with that I wanted to just show you guys a little bit more. But it's very interesting to see how this is just carving out pieces. But obviously, the water is the critical component here. When it's dry, it barely does anything to the surface. So it seems like it has to have water to eat. It's really just creating a conductive path, and what I believe is happening is it's making little plasmoids in there with those water molecules heating up and kind of vaporizing, causing a little explosion. And that's kind of also how I imagine, what's happening beneath volcanoes. If there is, a telluric current that's connecting to the atmosphere, and it's heating up something below the Earth's crust, is that what is causing these types of eruptions? Especially, you see steam, and then oftentimes there's electricity in the plumes that come off of these volcanoes. Again, it's a lot of different ideas that I have while I'm trying these. I have no idea what I'm looking for as the result, but just trying different things. So
just trying different things, see where it goes.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of kind of flack from a few folks out there, even in the EU world, saying I should stop what I'm doing because I don't know what I'm doing. But that's also, I think, what's led me to this. I don't know what I'm doing.
Don't listen to the haters. Do not
don't
listen to the haters. This place is full of haters, and this place is full of lovers and supporters.
Yep.
And you can listen to whichever one you want to listen to. So don't listen to the haters, okay?
Yeah.
Ever.
As long as you're not doing anything that's going to kill yourself doing this shit, just don't worry about what they're saying. Just
that's right. So, anyhow, I'm going to keep playing around and trying different things, but I do want to get something where I can rotate it. That's a great idea. I want to try multiple balls. I even want to try a dry ball and put a layer of wet clay on the outside, and even try flat surfaces and do kind of like Buddy was doing with the wood burning, where if I could have a layer of moist clay on top of dry clay, could I get Lichtenberg pattern discharges between the two? How would it respond? Would it, trying different variations like that, and then obviously getting into some other materials. So,
I have just found my fractal brander. That's what I call my the good old machine. What do you call it? Transformer. At first, we actually put it in a box and named it Dos Ex Machina.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, but that's just what we named it.
Yeah. Machina.
And so yeah, I just collected some of these rocks that I know create Lichtenbergs. They are mudstones. You have to have a certain type of mudstone. And I have my machine right here. With a little bit of solution, if you set the electrodes on it directly first while it's dry, then you slightly spray in a squirt bottle solution onto it, then you can get the Lichtenberg figure to leach all the way across. And yes, it does have to do everything with water. It has everything to do with water for sure.
So it's kind of like you're making it rain, and then it's responding to it.
Yeah, which is why I've been headed directly towards lightning. There's a lot of us that are actually headed directly towards lightning in our research, along with Bruce and what's his name? But yeah, there's a connection between what I have. I don't know if there's a name for it. So for lack of a better term, I just named it the hydroelectromycelial network. And that connects the unfolding of all life, bacteria and microbes, and electricity and water. It connects that cycle together through the solar cycle. It's almost like towards the end of a cycle, which is a new beginning. So, yeah. So I got this hooked up if you guys want to see it.
Yeah.
If you want to see a live demo.
Yeah, you're able to do that right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Here, I'll stop sharing. And I have to bounce out here in just a few minutes, too, but I would love to see it.
While Buddy's doing it, just wanted to mention real quick, sorry, Buddy. But before you go there, David, I just had another idea. If you can find a microscope for rock samples, take a small piece of that, and especially with the surface area, try to get a blown up shot of that. So that would really be cool too.
Oh, that's a good idea. Just to see.
Then you can get more enhanced features that would be probably more comparable to what we see on these celestial bodies because it'd be larger scale is all.
There you go. That's a great idea. I'll work on that.
Cool.
So, yeah, I want to see how these veins pull different minerals towards them. Because when you electrocute it, I gave my best 2 samples to Susan and I keep forgetting his name. He fell at EU. He fell and got a black eye. Andy. Yeah, I gave my best samples that I made to them. But man, are they amazing! And when you pump a certain amount of voltage through rock, it shoots out shards, large. They're smaller shards, but if it happened to be a big cataclysmic event, it would make sense for all of those huge rocks that are on the ground around mountains, super far away from them, like they got uplifted,
but hurled up into the atmosphere.
Yeah, when they get electrocuted, it shoots out these rocks. So that's at times. So you have to wear goggles. You should wear goggles when you're doing this.
Buddy, that makes me think of I visited Phoenix and I went and hiked Camelback Mountain. And if I made a post on that a while back. I'm sorry I don't have the photos to show you, but there is a Camelback Mountain, the northwest side of it. It just is totally melted on top. It's all bubbly and melted. And the park ranger said that it was formed billions of years ago, one of the first formations of the beginning of the Earth, which I couldn't get with. But if you go north from where Camelback Mountain is, there's a ridge line that kind of goes along the north side of Phoenix. And the southern ridge is just pelted with rocks. If you go west from Phoenix, it's a lot of different layered strata over in White Take Mountains, where I found a bunch of petroglyphs. There's a mountain range that goes to the west and to the east, and there's tons of petroglyphs all over Phoenix. But the geology looks like there was a pathway that went kind of northeast through Phoenix, and it melted that whole section. Whether it was deposited or it was already there and it was melted, but whatever the kind of like you're saying was pulled off in that giant discharge, it seemed like it dumped a bunch of those rocks on the north side, whatever that ridge line is that's kind of connecting over the north part of Phoenix.
I remember because I think Neil was talking to Andy, and I think they were mentioning some mountain range up in that area. I think it was either Phoenix or Tucson. But he said you could see like a reflective material up at the top of some of the mountains. And he said that was the titanium up there. So I think he's kind of referring to what you were talking about too. There is something that happened there.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's really cool to visit. There's some strange features over there, so I should put together something with all the different places that I've visited so far. Still got some areas that I want to go to.
Right.